Welcome, deep divers. So glad you're joining us today. We're about to plunge into a topic that, well, it touches every single one of us, yet it's often profoundly misunderstood. We're talking about pain. And I'm going to kick off with something from the research that just blew my mind. Pain doesn't exist, it's an interpretation. So think about that for a second. We've always thought, pain is this direct message, right? Injury happens, signal goes up, brain says, ouch. Simple. But if it's an interpretation, well, that changes everything. It suggests we might have more influence than we thought. This isn't just some physiological trivia. It's a completely different way to view chronic discomfort and maybe, just maybe, a new path to understanding and relief. So our mission today is to really dig into the sources you've provided, pull out the key insights on how our bodies perceive pain. And we'll focus specifically on a really crucial molecule, substance P.
That's a really powerful place to start, because understanding this isn't just academic. It can genuinely shift your perspective on your own health, your well-being. Today, we'll connect the dots. We'll look at the physiology, yes, but also our daily habits, even our emotional state. You'll see how interconnected it all is when it comes to experiencing pain.
Okay, so let's unpack that first big idea from the sources. Pain isn't just a simple sensation. It's not like touch hot stove, get pain signal. The material says the brain actively constructs it. So it's less like a direct phone line and more like a chef creating a dish from various ingredients.
That's a great way to put it. Yes, pain is an interpretation by the brain. It takes countless stimuli, signals from the body, internal cues, and synthesizes them into an experience. But it's not interpreting in a vacuum. It's heavily shaped by what we've learned pain is, right from early childhood. The sources stress that pain's real purpose is to be used. It's a signal, an alarm really, designed to alert us, but we often misunderstand it.
Or maybe misinterpret it, like you said, learned responses.
Exactly. It's meant to be an alarm, not this constant state of emergency. And in this whole process of construction, this interpretation, that's where substance P comes in. It's key.
Okay, so if the brain is constructing pain, what are the building blocks? And you mentioned substance P. Is that like the main architect? Or maybe the volume control?
Volume control is a good analogy here. So substance P, it's important to know it's not a simple neurotransmitter, not like serotonin or dopamine, which are kind of quick on-off switches. Substance P is a neuropeptide. It's bigger, more complex.
Okay, neuropeptide, so a different kind of messenger.
Exactly. Think of it as a more sophisticated messenger molecule. It's made of a longer chain of amino acids. This gives it a broader, more nuanced influence on how neurons talk to each other, especially about sensation. Neurons make it, they release it. But its critical role, when we're focusing on, is to modulate, and specifically to amplify the perception of pain. The sources are clear. More substance P means greater pain perception, and frankly, more unhappiness associated with it.
Wow, so it's not just passing the message along, it's actually turning up the volume. An amplifier. Where does this amplification happen? Like along the pathway to the brain? And how does that amplification actually cause problems?
Good question. The pathway itself is quite intricate. Imagine this constant stream of signals from all of your body heading towards the brain. They travel up through the spinal cord, inside your spine. And along this route, there are these crucial relay points. The sources call them nodes annexed to the dorsal root of the column.
Okay, like little processing stations.
Exactly. Think of them as critical hubs. All the sensory info passes through these stations, gets processed before it goes up to the brain for the final interpretation. Once the brain gets this processed data, then it constructs the feeling, the perception of pain.
And substance P is hanging out at these stations, turning up the gain.
It can be, yes.
Yeah.
If it's acting as an amplifier along this path, right there, those filtering stations, it definitely increases the potential for things to, well, go wrong.
Right, like stacking audio amplifiers, each stage adds potential for noise and distortion if it's not managed well.
That's a very good analogy. But it's crucial to remember, substance P isn't inherently bad. It's part of our natural physiology. It's supposed to be there. Its job is useful. Modulate, amplify, control stimuli. Help us pay attention to what matters. The trouble starts when the system gets dysregulated, when that amplification goes haywire.
Okay, so it's a useful tool, this internal amplifier, but how does it go haywire? What makes it switch from helpful alert to, well, just noise and suffering? Is it just bad habits like the sources mention? Or could other things be involved too?
The sources really point towards what they term bad epigenetic habits. Now, genetics might play some underlying role, sure, but these habits are often the main drivers because they change how our genes actually work.
Epigenetic, so influencing gene expression, not changing the genes themselves.
Precisely. Think about things like a consistently poor diet, lots of inflammatory foods, or being sedentary, not moving enough. Lack of good quality sleep, that's a big one. And crucially, persistent stress. Psychological stress that keeps cortisol levels high all the time.
Cortisol, the stress hormone. Useful in short bursts, but not constantly high.
Exactly. Short bursts help us deal with threats, but chronic elevation is damaging. These habits, over time, they lead to this state called chronic low-grade inflammation. It's like your whole system is just simmering, constantly irritated. It's not like a big flare-up, but this low hum of inflammation everywhere.
Taxing the system, preventing repair.
Right. Your system is always on alert, but there's no clear enemy to fight.
The amplifier analogy from the sources really hits home here. Stacking too many amps doesn't just make music louder, it makes it saturated, distorted. And the sources say the pain information itself becomes deformed, transgressed, or gibbersated. It's not a clear signal anymore, just distorted noise.
That's it, exactly. The body's message, the warning signal, gets mangled. The brain receives this confusing, overwhelming static instead of useful information, like shouting through a broken megaphone, as you said.
So when the system is already inflamed, already stressed.
Yes, when your metabolic system is chronically inflamed, it's already pushed to its limit. Then any extra stressor, maybe a family issue, a work problem, an argument, even a physical injury, can make it overflow.
The final straw.
Right. And at that point, substance P can become uncontrolled. The amplification just goes wild. The brain gets this distorted information, making it incredibly hard to know what's really going on. The body's shouting, but the message is garbled.
So, okay, if someone's substance P is on overdrive, amplifier cranked way too high, what does that actually feel like day to day? What are the real consequences?
Well, they're pretty far-reaching, as the sources detail. They really impact almost every part of your life. First, the most obvious one, persistent pain. And we're not talking about a few days. We mean pain lasting weeks, months, even years. The sources are explicit. This is not physiological.
Not normal, basically. Right.
The normal pain cycle, according to the research, is maybe 4 to 5 days of acute pain and inflammation, then repair over maybe 2-3 weeks. If pain goes on for months or years, that's a huge red flag that something else is driving it, likely that this substance P dysregulation.
And that makes so much sense because people with chronic pain often struggle with emotional distress too, right? It's not just physical.
Absolutely. That's the second major consequence. This persistent, non-physiological pain rarely travels alone. It often comes packaged with a significant emotional distress, anguish, anxiety, depression. It's incredibly taxing mentally when your body constantly sends these distorted alarm signals. And it's not surprising that these symptoms often get linked to diagnoses like fibromyalgia. The sources emphasize that fibromyalgia isn't really a natural state, but more a result of this deep dysregulation in the nervous system and energy pathways.
Wow. And what else does it affect? Energy, sleep?
Definitely. Third big area, severe energy and sleep problems. We're talking extreme fatigue, feeling completely drained even with minimal effort. Sleep gets heavily disrupted, maybe insomnia, waking up constantly, or just waking up feeling even more tired than when you went to bed.
Oh, I know people who describe exactly that.
It's a classic sign of a system under chronic stress, unable to properly repair itself. And then there's the cognitive side, things like procrastination. It's often not laziness, it's a genuine lack of mental energy, mental clarity to even start or finish tasks. You plan, but can't seem to execute.
So pain, emotional distress, fatigue, sleep issues, brain fog. It all seems connected.
And ultimately, it all boils down to energy, specifically energy at the cellular level, which brings us to the mitochondria.
The powerhouses of the cell. I remember those from biology class.
That's them. These tiny units inside every cell are responsible for producing ATP. ATP is basically the energy currency your body uses for absolutely everything, thinking, moving, healing, everything.
Okay, so how do mitochondria link to substance P and all this pain?
Here's the critical connection, really the core of it. If you have mitochondriopathy, which just means your mitochondria aren't working properly, they're dysfunctional. Then, the sources say substance P becomes completely unleashed, uncontrolled, deregulated, and above all, sick.
Unleashed, uncontrolled, sick. Strong words.
And it goes further. The sources state that it's not just substance P, but the brain itself becomes sick in this state.
Whoa. So a fundamental energy problem doesn't just cause pain, it leads to a sick brain that can't regulate its own signals.
That's the picture the research paints. It suggests even our thoughts, our ability to manage our internal state, are tied to these tiny cellular power plants.
So our ability to stay calm, think clearly, handle stress, that all depends on healthy mitochondria.
In large part, yes. If those energy generators are sputtering, the brain struggles, can't maintain balance. And this often ties back to how we first learned to experience pain. Maybe we learned to feel it sickly, as the sources put it, perhaps in childhood, where even minor discomforts were treated like a huge emergency.
Teaching the nervous system that any pain signal equals catastrophe.
Exactly. That pattern gets wired in. It makes it incredibly hard later on to tell the difference between a simple alarm, like a muscle ache saying, "rest me," and a genuine emergency needing a massive response.
That constant internal siren
Mm.
must be exhausting.
It is. And not just for the person experiencing it, but, as the sources note, sometimes for those around them too.
Yeah. That touches on the isolation that often comes with chronic pain, doesn't it? If the brain is stuck in emergency mode, but there's no obvious cause for the suffering, it's hard for others to understand. They might distance themselves.
It's tragic, really. It becomes a breakdown in communication internally and externally, which just makes things worse.
It sounds unsustainable.
Completely. Living with pain as a constant emergency just isn't viable. And when mitochondrial energy is low, all the alarms get triggered easily. The brain thinks it's under attack, but it doesn't have the energy to respond effectively. So you get this constant crisis alarm that can't be shut off because the underlying energy deficit isn't fixed.
What's the difference functionally between alarm and emergency in this context?
Think of an alarm as specific, actionable information. Hot stove, move hand. Clear cause, clear action. An emergency mindset is when the brain treats every signal, even minor ones, like a 5-alarm fire. A paper cut feels like a major wound. This state of constant high alert, fueled by low energy, keeps the system perpetually in crisis, making even small pains feel overwhelming.
Okay, this sounds pretty bleak, but the sources offer hope, right? They talk about a startup key, which is about restoring the function of substance P, getting that amplifier back to a healthy setting.
Exactly. It's not about eliminating substance P, but modulating it, getting it back in balance. The focus is on activity, both physical and mental, to modulate its function and maybe even its quantity. And here's a fascinating insight from the sources. To stop thinking requires more energy than to not stop thinking.
Wait, say that again. It takes more energy to stop thinking.
Yes. Think about when you're exhausted, lying in bed, and your mind is racing. You can't shut it off. According to this view, it's partly because you lack the mitochondrial energy to stop the thoughts.
Like trying to hit the brakes on a car that's run out of gas?
Exactly. The braking mechanism is there, but without fuel, without energy, it won't engage. Without enough cellular energy, the brain struggles with the demanding task of quieting itself, leading to that cycle of racing thoughts and fatigue.
So it's not just about willpower or trying harder to relax. We need to give the body the fuel it needs to actually achieve calm. What practical steps do the sources suggest? How do we improve mitochondrial function and quiet the mind?
They offer several strategies, and these aren't just, vague wellness tips. They're tools aimed directly at that energy core. Things like meditation, yoga, mindfulness practices, even specific techniques like binaural breathing.
How do those help specifically with energy and substance P?
They work by helping to downregulate the stress response. They calm the nervous system. This conserves mitochondrial energy and signals to the brain that it's safe, that it can dial down that constant emergency alert. These practices help retune the whole system, allowing for better energy use.
Makes sense. Lifestyle changes are foundational. What about supplements or compounds? Do the sources mention anything there?
They do mention a few specific compounds, yes, but it's stressed that these aren't magic bullets. They're tools to support mitochondrial function, working alongside lifestyle efforts. They mention methylene blue.
Methylene blue. Interesting.
Yeah, it shows promise for improving how mitochondria use oxygen and make energy. Also, coenzyme Q10, or CoQ10, and that's pretty well known. It's vital for the process of making ATP. And another one called PQQ, pyrroloquinoline quinone.
PQQ. Never heard of that one.
It's thought to help promote the growth of new mitochondria and make existing ones work better. These can be taken as supplements or sometimes given intravenously under medical supervision for more targeted support.
And liver function. You mentioned that connection earlier.
Right, can't forget the liver. It's crucial for clearing out waste products and managing energy for tissue repair. Detoxification pathways impact inflammation system-wide. So if you approach this coherently lifestyle, mindset, maybe targeted support, the sources are optimistic. They assure us that substance P can be modulated, and along with it, that persistent, often unbearable pain can be significantly reduced.
What a deep dive indeed. Okay, let's recap. Pain isn't just a raw signal. It's an active interpretation by the brain. Substance P acts like an amplifier for that signal. Things like poor diet, lack of sleep, chronic stress, they can throw this amplifier out of whack, leading to chronic inflammation, which messes with our energy at the core, our mitochondria, affecting pain, mood, sleep, everything. But crucially, there are ways back. Through mindful practices, lifestyle changes, maybe targeted support, we can help restore balance, retune that amplifier.
Precisely. By understanding these root causes, especially that link between cellular energy and how we interpret signals, you really gain agency. You can start to shift that mindset from constant emergency back to alarm, where pain becomes a useful signal again, not just this overwhelming threat. And that reframing, backed by action, lets your system redirect energy towards healing, towards clarity, towards feeling well again.
So here's a final thought for you, our listeners, to take away today. Consider how your own energy levels, your daily routines, even the way you've perhaps learned to react to discomfort, alarm versus emergency might be shaping your entire experience, not just of pain, but of life. What one small intentional change could you explore today? Something to just begin retuning your internal amplifier, moving towards a more balanced, energetic you. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning. We'll see you next time.